So when I talk improvisation, I do not refer to improvising use case scenarios. I do not refer to the design team improvising to come up with new ideas, but I really talk about how can we design products and conceive of services and environments, constructed environments that are able to improvise, that are able to act and interact without a script, dealing gracefully with the unpredictable and unforeseeable. Now for that, what I did, I looked closely at improvisation quite deeply, not just as a term to escape the plan. And the origin of improvisation comes from proviso, Latin, which means an agreement, a condition attached to a contract, to an agreement, a provision, a stipulation that's made beforehand. And so improvisation is the opposite, is an acting without such an agreement, an acting without having a contract beforehand, and encountering the unforeseen and the unexpected. So it's working constructively with what has not been planned, what has not been agreed before. So I look at improvisation very much as something, a dynamic that recasts unpredictability as a critical kind of mobility. Now, putting that into the context of interaction design, experience design, my own background is in industrial design originally, and so I'm well aware of the fluidity of the boundaries between these domains. But if you look at it in context, as designers and people working with designers and directing designers perhaps, we've always referred to models. We've always referred to design models that that try to help us understand how people interact with their environment. And based on the kind of model that we adopt in our design process, the outcomes will be conditioned by that kind of model. Depending on how we look at that process of how humans act and interact, our designs will be shaped. Brenda Laurel then in the 90s put forth computers as theater, a very powerful model that was largely overseen in the 90s and re-emerged when she re-edited her book with a foreword by Don Norman in the early 2000s. Computers as theaters looks at performance of intentional activity as a design model where both human and computers have a role as part of multiple agents in a theater-like stage that represent whole actions. And Brenda Laurel, in one small passage of her book, actually writes that while a theater-based model of interaction and experience works really well, it's somewhat limited since in real life there is no script. Real life happens without a script and is much more akin to the improvisation that happens during preparation and practice and rehearsal in a theater realm. And so that's why I focused on improvisation. Made a lot of sense. And I focused on improvisation because of the reasons mentioned before, the simultaneity of the conception and action that is so close to what real-time technologies today are able to perform, where the action at hand continues to create and change what is being played. And this continuous iterative and recursive operations back and forth between people and their constructed environment that both condition each other without there being a fixed plan, but where dynamics and structures can emerge. And the fourth and last one, and that's probably particularly important in the times that we live, is a focus on otherness and on design that allows for and embraces otherness. Improvisation deals with the unexpected and what is uncontrollable. Something that is not fully known and that can be considered as other. Something that was not foreseen. As designers and people that work in the realm of design, that's typically something that we shy away from. It's actually a very control-based approach to our environment. We like to draw plans, we like to write scripts, we would like to control our environments. Improvisation is all the opposite. Anything might happen at any time, right? And the question is how as designers can we design environments and systems and services that can deal gracefully and constructively with this kind of otherness. It's this kind of paradox, I think, because as designers, and especially in digital design, there is code, which is script. There is a lot of control. So the paradox is how do you create this kind of openness, and how do you create systems that do not foresee actions, but that are open to dealing with something that they could not foresee gracefully. And so openness, I think, in this under-specified elements of physical or digital environment, under specification, I think is one of the elements to go to.